Hi, everyone. If you are planning to attend the mapping piece, bridging beliefs and values in a multipolar world, you are in the right session. Your lead facilitators for today will be myself, Andrew Duffy. I'm currently connecting from Cotonou, Benin. Our other lead facilitator is Dr. Evan Hoffman, who's connecting from Vancouver Island in Canada. We'd love to know where you all are connecting from as well. If you want to put that in the chat, it'd be great to see where everyone's connecting from. We're also joined by some co-facilitators. We're going to have a breakout room a little bit later. And our co-facilitators today supporting that are Olivia Siegel, Bobby Pennington, Andrew Sinclair. And then our colleague, David Scribner, is helping pull it all together and making sure everything goes well. There are a variety of sessions today, so thank you for joining this one. So we're going to set some context before we really jump into the mapping tool that we want to share with you today. And so we're going to start here with this photo, and heroes or villains. So the idea here is to think about what your point of view is. So picture a situation in which clear-cut logging of old growth forest is taking place. It's been ongoing for 3 months. One small faction of a group of environmentalists began to protest peacefully, and now they've become very angry and frustrated with its inability to stop the logging using peaceful means. The factionalized group firmly believes that the seriousness of its cause will only get the media attention it deserves, so it ratchets up its tactics. The members decide to erect a roadblock on a busy highway, believing this may get some new media coverage. The survival of the forest is so important to them that they are willing to be arrested for their actions. In fact, they are even ready to put their lives on the line. It's a roadblock which has been erected by protesters to slow a logging process. Is it a heroic one last stand to fight for the survival of the old growth forest, or a reckless and illegal action which puts public safety at risk? So this really gets at what we're wanting to address today, because your answer to this question will depend on your particular views and beliefs and the views and beliefs of those who you ask to talk about it. So the aim of this session is to provide you with an opportunity to learn more about your beliefs, values, and worldviews as they relate to peace building. So one of the themes for PeaceCon this year is peace building in a multipolar world. And within this theme, it describes that the peacebuilding community now must grapple with a growing and increasingly diverse set of peace builders. That these peace builders could include emerging middle powers, regional organizations, non-state actors, and those who are driven by deeply held beliefs, values, and emotions about peace building that might be completely divergent from our own or your own. Each of us brings a specific yet evolving set of beliefs and values that drive and shape the work that we do as peace builders. When interacting with others in this space, they may bring a similar or very different set of beliefs and values. So in a multipolar world, we must go beyond making assumptions about how other people view peace building. The multipolar perspective requires understanding the complex beliefs, values, and emotions that drive these peace builders and reconciling them with our own. So rather than having a panel discussion to discuss what this means, we designed this session to be more hands-on, to allow you, the participants, to learn about and experience a tool for helping make sense of what others bring to peace building within our growing and increasingly diverse world. In this session, you will learn about cognitive affective mapping as a tool for peace building. You'll learn about to better understand your own peace building values and beliefs, to better understand the values and beliefs that drive other people's peace building work. So now our colleague Evan Hoffman will give us an introduction to cognitive affective mapping.
Yeah, okay. Thank you so much, Andrew, and welcome to everyone. And thank you once again for joining us on this session here today. Cognitive affective mapping, as you can see from the screen here, is a relatively new peace building tool that helps us to visually map out someone's worldview, is one way to think about it. So we're capturing basically their values and their beliefs and their emotional feelings around certain concepts. And so this is helpful for exploring different worldviews, exploring different perspectives, and we can use this tool to lead folks through a process of developing one of these visual maps of their beliefs and values. And because of that, you can use this in many different ways from a peace building approach. So number one is that if you were to map your own views of a particular conflict, it creates this greater self-awareness of, what are my own beliefs and views about this conflict. But you can also use this tool as a way to help do perspective shifting and have someone try to see a situation from the other person's perspective. So what you could do then is say, well, you've mapped this conflict from your perspective, but now what would this conflict, how do you imagine the other person is seeing it? What might their map look like? And so because it's quite a versatile tool and it can be used in all these different ways, it is really quite helpful for generating greater understanding of the worldviews involved in conflicts. And it's quite an interesting process where you start with a central concept, and it can be kind of simplistic as the one you see on the left here. This is obviously a CAM related to someone's views of light rail transit in their city. And different people approach it in different ways, but you can put the main concept in the middle of your page. And then what happens is you start out with your concept and you can indicate whether it's a concept that you feel positively about or negatively about. So as we can see, the one in the center of the page here is a red hexagon. So we can say this is a negative concept. All of the green ovals, those of course are positive concepts. The thickness of the lines can change to indicate the strength of that value. And then what you do is once you fill out your blank canvas with all of these different thoughts and beliefs and ideas and concepts, is then the next part is to create connections between them. And this is kind of where the magic happens, is to say, how does one belief connect to or feed into another one? And so that's represented by the lines. And so you can have a solid line between different concepts, and that would represent a positive connection. Whereas you can have dotted lines between some of the concepts, and that's going to represent a negative connection between the two ideas or the two concepts. Again, there's another layer of complexity to this where you can increase or decrease the thickness of the lines. And by doing so, when you increase the thickness of the line, you're visually saying this is a much stronger concept. So as you can see on the left side here, again, it can be quite simplistic. Or on the right side, we have someone's views of fossil fuel consumption. It's a much more complex CAM, many more concepts on it, many more connections, but that allows you to, see how is this person thinking about this particular this issue, what are the set of beliefs around it, right? And then this is helpful, provides helpful insights and analysis. I was part of a research project here in Canada where we guided several stakeholders, about 20 different stakeholders, through a mapping process over several online sessions like this. And what happened is number one, they mapped the water conflict from their own perspective to create these greater personal insights. What are my beliefs about water? What are my beliefs around this water conflict? And then we had them see self and other by mapping the other stakeholders. So what would be, pardon me, what would the conflict look like for the other folks? And in doing so, we were able to explore a vast range of different belief systems and ideologies around water. But not only did we find what their beliefs and ideologies were, but also what are the underlying thoughts and values and so on that help to sustain those worldviews. It also, from a peace building perspective, was quite useful in the sense that we were able to quickly identify shared sets of values or commonalities between the different stakeholder groups. So again, a relatively new peace building tool, but with lots of different potential to it. And so right now we're going to have Andrew give you a quick crash course on how to actually use Valence so that when you get into your breakout rooms, you can make the most of your time there.
Yeah, so let me share my screen. Okay. Yeah, so as Evan was describing these various components and pieces of a CAM, wanted to show you how we would put something like that together using this tool called Valence. And when we go into our breakout rooms, we'll share a link with you, each of you, so that you have an opportunity to try your hand at it and see what you can put together around a particular conflict scenario. So to demonstrate to you, rather than show a really complex conflict scenario, just put something pretty basic together, and that being work from home. So as a concept, I started to map like what my beliefs, values, emotions are around working from home. And so, as Evan mentioned, the yellow rectangles are a neutral concept. The green ones a positive, and the red concepts are negative. There's also ambivalent, which I'll show you in a second. And just to note, when you're using the tool, over on the right-hand side, there's a key that tells you what each thing is. So makes it easy to check that and see what it is that you're trying to put together. So again, in the breakout rooms, we're going to give you all a chance to put one of these together. But I just thought it would be helpful, or we thought it would be helpful if I recreate this one that you see on the screen, just to show you how I point and click through the tool. So each of these shapes are called concepts. And so I start by clicking the concepts button at the top of the screen. And then I click anywhere in the canvas to add a concept. By default, it comes up as a neutral concept. So the beigeish yellow rectangle. And then there's a slider at the bottom of the concept. And if you slide it to the left, it becomes a negative concept. If I slide it to the right, it becomes a positive concept. Evan also mentioned that there's like the thickness of the lines can indicate the strength of the concept. So if I slide the slider even more to the right, you'll see that the outline becomes thicker, indicating a stronger sense of that concept. And it would be the same way if I move over to the right for the negative concept. If you happen to want to include an ambivalent concept, so this would be something where you don't really have positive or negative views about it. It just kind of exists within the system that you're looking at. Under the slider, there's a little kind of checkbox, and you can check mark that, hopefully. Internet is getting a little slow here. Oh. But being a little slow, so you just have to believe me. And hopefully it'll work fine for you, but you click the little box at the bottom, the little check mark, and that will allow you to set an ambivalent concept. Okay, there it is. All right, so to recreate this cam over here on the left, we're going to start by including our neutral concept, a starting concept, if you will. So I'm going to type work from home into the text box and hit enter. And you'll see that it adds it. I accidentally clicked elsewhere on the canvas that already started my next one, but I was going to say, after you create your first one, you can click the canvas to create your next one. So in replicating this one, I want our next one to be collaboration, which I see as a positive attribute of working from home. I think that working from home can increase collaboration. It's a positive thing. So I'm going to move that over to the right. And then I'm going to move to our next concept, which is productivity. Sorry. So I'll type in productivity. And then also need to change it to a positive, because I think productivity is a positive concept. And then our last concept here is isolation. So I think for me, when I'm working at home, I sometimes feel isolated. I don't have people to socially interact with. For me, that's a negative. So I'm going to turn it into a red concept here. So the way that I'm doing this now, you may have noticed, is that I'm creating all of my concepts first, and then I'm going to add lines. So that's how some people do it. Some people will start with a concept, and then they'll just start brainstorming and seeing what other concepts come to mind for them, and they'll just keep adding them to the canvas without really worrying about how they connect. Some people think differently. So some people will start with a concept, add another concept, and immediately make a line to connect the two. We'll add another concept and then immediately add another line to connect the new one. You can do whatever you want. It doesn't matter. It's however your brain works. So if you want to put all the concepts on the canvas first and then add the lines, great. If you want to add a concept and lines at the same time, that's also great. But to show you how to create those links, those lines, up at the top of the screen, I'm going to click the links button now. Let's see here. And so to create a link, you first click on the concept that for one side of your link. So I'm clicking work from home. And you may notice that the border turned to a blue border. So that means it's active. And I want to connect it to collaboration. So then I click on collaboration and it creates the link. So as an example, I want to change this link to a concept and disagreement, which the dotted line. So once you have our link and it's blue, that means it's active. We come over to the right, we have a couple options here, type of link, agreement, disagreement, and then also the strength. And then you can also turn your links with arrows. You can have one concept point to another if you want. So for this one, we want it to be a disconnected, so disagreement. So I'm going to click disagreement here, which then will change our line on the canvas to disagreement. Okay. So to create our next link, again, same process. We click on the first concept, it's the blue outline, and then we click on the connecting concept, in this case, productivity. You'll notice in our example that this link we want to show as having greater strength. Working from home can increase productivity. There's a strong connection there, for example. So again, once we have the link and it's blue, we can come back over to this set of options and toggles. And with this strength, we can increase the strength across this slider. So we have a stronger connection then. And then again, for the last link, just again, click on our first concept, and then click on the second one, and it creates the link that we want there. So that's the basic idea of how you can put the various pieces together. Like I said, in our breakout rooms, each of you will have kind of a coach in your breakout room to help walk you through how to do this. And we'll share a link with you to this software so that you can practice using it. And then as a part of the breakout rooms, we'll have a little discussion, and then we'll also come back to the larger group to have a wrap-up discussion. All right, thank you.
Okay, so thanks for giving us that quick crash course, Andrew, and I think we're all much better equipped now to go to the breakout rooms. A quick reminder here for you as you're preparing to go into the breakout room and do your own CAM mapping, that there's a couple of preferred browsers. So we found that the software doesn't really work very well with Edge or Internet Explorer. So if you have your Google Chrome open, that would be a good one to use. We're going to momentarily put the link to the software in your chat in a moment. Before we get there, though, I want to introduce the case kind of quickly, just to kind of orient you to the case that you're going to be mapping. We're going to be providing this case. Basically, it's a pretty simple scenario with a two-party neighborhood dispute between two neighbors. We have a family who's been in the neighborhood for many, many years. A new person moves in next door. Initially, everything seems quite friendly and everything is going well. That said, things do change rather quickly. Unfortunately, the person who has moved into the neighborhood more recently becomes fearful about crime in the area. Turns out they maybe read something in a paper about some crime in a nearby community. So they're fearful for their safety. And they say, well, I'm going to put up a great big security fence, and I'm going to get a loud and scary guard dog and put that into that dog into my backyard. These actions taken to increase that person's sense of security kind of confuse the other neighbors, the existing neighbors. They're curious what that person's hiding back there. They decide to fly a drone over that backyard to see what's happening over at that house. The homeowner becomes infuriated that someone has infringed upon their privacy by flying that drone over their backyard. A fight between these two neighbors ensues. The police are eventually called, and then the situation gets sent off to a community mediator. And that's where you step in. That's the role that we're going to be taking as you approach this conflict in your breakout rooms, is that you are the community mediator. You've been assigned to help resolve this neighbor dispute. And basically, you have to try to map this situation. What are your beliefs and your values, and what is your worldview of the situation, and how will that help you to bring a lasting resolution to the conflict? Okay, so that's a brief intro to the case. You'll have a more in-depth intro once you get into your breakout rooms. Here's the full write-up. We'll cover that in the breakout rooms. So on that note, I'll ask my colleague David to send us all into our breakout rooms, please.
Awesome. Welcome back, everyone. I hope I jumped into one of the rooms, and it definitely some good conversation. I'm sure there was in the other rooms as well. A big thank you to our breakout room facilitators for leading those discussions and knowledge sharing. Yeah, so a few wrap-up notes that are on the screen here. We would love to see your CAMs that you develop. So if you wanted to, share those via email, our emails here are here on the screen. You can also put them in the chat if you want. And then yeah, we thank all of you for participating in the interactive session today. We know that you took a chance by jumping into an interactive session as opposed to another panel discussion. So thanks for taking a chance with us. We hope that it was inspiring and gave you some new things to think about as a part of your peace building work. And yeah, feel free to stay connected with us. Like I mentioned, Evan's email address is there. My email address is there. If you want to connect with one of the facilitators, just let us know. We can connect you with them. And then on our next slide, we just have a few resources, which I think the PowerPoint gets shared out at some point. But we're also including links in the chat. And I think that's about it. So, is there any other remaining comments, questions? We have about 1-2 minutes left. Otherwise, we'll say thank you.
I'll just repeat Andrew's remarks and say thank you, everyone. And hopefully, as he says, we took a risk doing a different type of presentation today, and we really wanted to make it interactive, give you a chance to work with this tool, play around with it a little bit, become introduced to it. And so we hope that you found some value in that, and that you may consider how you would use this going forward. And as Andrew said, most interested in any kind of feedback or any applications down the road. So stay in touch, and thank you once again.